So the pretrial hearing for Microsoft versus the FTC versus Activision happened today, and some interesting stuff took place. Now, I don't know if you're allowed to record these proceedings or broadcast them. So if there's a lawyer in the comments who could tell me if that's okay or not, that would be great. But I'm not going to risk getting in trouble with the government basically by doing something I'm not supposed to. So instead, what I'm going to do is recap what took place during the call. It was a brief call, but there's some interesting stuff that happened. We're going to dive in right now. So the call started off with just a lot of technical issues. Microsoft wasn't able to come in. There was an overwhelming amount of callers who were calling in for this pretrial hearing. But what actually unfolded was quite brief. Basically, it began about 5 minutes after I called in. There was a question about who was counsel for Microsoft, who is counsel for Activision, etc. Yes, good old Steven Sunshine called in. And then there was a question a little bit later for the FTC, James Weingarten, who was proceeding about other proceedings. And here's what James Weingarten had to say. He said, "What is the status of settlement discussions for the government?" James Weingarten, government FTC. "Leadership for the Bureau of Competition has directed respondents to engage with staff directly. We are always open to any remedy or settlement proposal, either in litigation or before litigation. There are not substantive conversations happening at this time." "What do you mean by staff?" And James replied, "Me, Your Honor." So the FTC is basically saying, hey, we are open to settlement discussions, although that's strange because there's no reason for Microsoft to settle with them based on what they have filed. Microsoft has decided to litigate this. And as you can see in the video I made earlier today, a legal analyst basically said that is probably the best idea for Microsoft in this case. I'm going to move my paperwork here out of the way. Continuing on, though, then they said any update on the settlement or information from the respondent side. That's Microsoft. And Beth Wilkinson said on behalf of Xbox, part of this reason we were able to engage with complaint counsel and come up with a more expedited schedule is, as you may know, the deal is undergoing review in Europe and in the UK. Let's move that over here. And we're hoping that will be resolved. And if there are remedies that are appropriate, that we can come back to Mr. Weingarten and the FTC staff to talk about a resolution. So basically, they pointed out that, hey, we're not interested in a resolution just right now. We have these other cases happening in the EU and the UK. Those are going to wrap up in March. And they would rather say, if there's any consent decrees or anything we have to make over there, we would rather bring that to the FTC, who would likely agree and say, yeah, okay, well, if the CMA and the EU made you agree to that, then we agree to that also. The issue is it seems more and more that the EU and the CMA are leaning towards not caring as much as the FTC does. So there is a chance that nothing happens there. And then this does go to trial. Beth continued on, if not, as he was suggesting, and we have to go forward with the deal to close, then we would assume that the FTC would make the decision to go to federal court. And that's why we wanted to front load the discovery in this case, in case they were to move it, because we have a termination date of July 18th, 2023. So we kind of are preparing for all options, either resolution, if we can, which would be ideal, or a trial in front of you, which of course is fine, and up to the FTC or federal court. So what Microsoft said basically is, look, we're ready for anything. We're not going to offer any concessions right now. We're going to see what happens with the UK and the CMA. We'll bring that to the FTC and see if they agree to it. And if they don't, we'll bring it to court. Like, we're going to do whatever we need to do. We are hoping for the expedited schedule because of the termination date, which means they're going to have to pay a hefty fee if they don't figure out what they're going to do by July 18th, 2023. So that's kind of where everything is at there. I think we go to quote 4 right now. Now, did I have you mention that the UK and EU or both? And Beth said, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, or federal court. Now, did I have you mention that the UK and EU, one or both, are still having proceedings? Both, Your Honor. There's both the EU and now the CMA, and they're revealing that they're investigating the deal separately at the same time right now, and our clients are engaging with both regulators. There are also other regulators around the world that are looking at this deal, and we've received clearance in some jurisdictions, and we hope to receive clearance in all jurisdictions sometime over the next few months. Basically, they're saying we have these other cases proceeding right now, and they're ongoing, but we are hoping that the deal closes in the next few months because we want to wrap this thing up. And if you go watch my video where I talk about the timeline of the case, I'm going to bring it up right now so that I have it handy. There's also like threads about the timeline for this case. But basically, the important dates are there's no date with the FTC thing, but the UK CMA is March 1st and the EU Commission is April 11th. So by April 11th, I have to imagine that whatever has happened with those two jurisdictions are going to be wrapped up. And then Michael Packer, you can check out that video right here, by the way. He estimates that the whole thing will close by April 15th, 2023. Now, I have one more quote to go over, but before I let you go, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell. I love making this content and covering this for you. So if you could do that, thank you so much. And you would help me hit 100,000 subscribers. See, the thing is, half of you are not subscribed. And if you all hit subscribe on this video, I would hit the 100,000 subscriber mark today, and I would stop doing these promos in the middle. I promise you I will stop once we break 100K, but I'm really stoked about it because we've seen massive growth over the last little bit. So the final quote that we're going to go over today is, Judge, so no one in the EU or UK Commission, no one has issued an edict to block anything at this point. Is that correct? And Beth said, that's correct, Your Honor. And that was it. That's all that happened on the call. The judge talked about how this is a scheduling call and how whatever is going to transpire now will transpire. And I believe discovery happens next. I thought discovery happened during arraignment, but apparently it might happen after the pretrial based off of everything they've said. I have a lot of questions. I don't know where this was transcribed. Like, where am I going to be able to read this online? They wrote everything down. I don't know where the trial is actually taking place. So I have a lot of questions and more things that I wanted to dive into with it. But the first thing I wanted to do was get you the information about the case, what happened, who was talking during the case, and what transpired. So that's the long and the short of it, really. It was a very short call. You know, Microsoft got in. The total conversation time was maybe 5 minutes, and that was it. Nothing was thrown out. It was just a pretrial hearing, and we're going to find out more in the months to come, it sounds like. Sounds like the FTC isn't budging, but they are. The FTC has set it up, right? Basically, once the EU and UK come up with whatever consent decrees they have, Microsoft is going to say, okay, here's what the EU and UK agreed to. Do you want those also? Okay, we'll give them to you also because why not? And then it'll wrap up. That's what it sounds like. Like James Weingarten actually sounded kind of nervous during the call, which was surprising. Maybe he didn't expect like 40,000 people to call in, or it wasn't that many, but it was sort of funny that the judge commented that it was a lot. And that's it. Well, that's what happened on this one. But if you want to know more, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. I will be continuing to cover this Microsoft case. I'm probably going to make a video about how a lot of people have caught on to the fact that Microsoft denied knowing when Call of Duty launched. Really what they're doing is making the FTC do that legwork. They don't have to admit that they know when Call of Duty launched. That's up to the FTC. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and considering that subscribe button. Again, half of you aren't subbed. So if you like my content, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and you'll help me hit 100K, and I can stop doing these promos. But thank you so much. And thank you so much to the members for supporting. I greatly appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. I'm going to get out of here. If you want to see the letter, the spicy reply Activision had, that's my favorite one, so I keep promoting it. You can do so right here. Subscribe over there. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.